Now in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through a few of the PHP configuration items that you should be aware of. I'm not going to run through them all, it's going to take way too long. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to obviously start my Apache web server, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in I'm going to create a new PHP program right from scratch, and that program is going to print out all of the PHP configuration items. So I'm going to open Notepad++, open bracket, question mark, PHP, enter, PHP info, okay, open and then close bracket, and semicolon, enter, question mark, close angle bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as php c config.php. I'm going to save this file, and then I'm going to go to my web browser, and I'm going to access that file through my web server. So I'm going to go http://localhost localhost/. So this is how I access a page through my web server. Hit enter, and okay, now it ran to a mistake. Now remember, the web server is by default looking for a page called index.php. It didn't find a page called index.php, so it didn't load anything. So I'm going to go back to the folder in which my document root folder, whichever one you mapped it at, and I'm going to change the file name to index.php. And go back to my web server, hit refresh, and my web server has found my index.php. So that little function, PHP info, when it's executed by the PHP interpreter, this is what it does. It prints out all the PHP configuration. The first one I want to show you is, so first of all, you want to scroll up and down, and you want to notice the huge number of PHP times that you can mess with. All right, so we're going to start at the very top. So scroll back to the top, look for one called configuration file path, and now this one you don't really need to worry about in an all-in-one package, but I just want to show you that it's there, because sometimes this PHP ini file, this is where all of the PHP settings are stored. This is a text file, and for some odd reason, like in my own experience, there can be multiple copies of this php.ini file in various places. Sometimes there's one in the Windows folder, in the System32 folder. Sometimes it's actually in PHP folder. So if you have a few different copies of this PHP file, all right, of the settings file, this one here is this setting here, when you run PHP info, is going to tell you exactly which one that the program is going to use, right? In which case it is in the PHP folder. So in order to access that file, we go to Start, All Programs, WinLab, Configure, Edit PHP.ini file, and that's going to bring up this not so great looking text file, okay, with a whole bunch of stuff in it. So a little bit of an explanation of what these text files are. Now you want to notice the overuse of the semicolon. Notice the semicolon at the beginning of many of these lines here. That semicolon basically means that everything following or to the right of the semicolon is basically a comment, and PHP is going to ignore it. And that's basically, in those comments, you notice there's a lot of them, is basically a note for you explaining what the setting is. And the actual setting, you got to scroll down a bit, this is an example of a setting. So engine equals on. The property or the setting name is engine, okay, and to the right of the equal sign on, that is the value that it's set to. So engine is set to on. And all configuration files like this basically work in the same way. Some of them use number signs or dollar signs instead of the semicolon, but that's basically how it works. So we use a semicolon to comment basically on and off. So now the first thing I want to show you is only a couple of things here, and the first one I'll show you is one called, I believe it's called resource limits. Resource limits, here it is. So this one here, the max execution time equals 30. All right. So what that means is if you have written a PHP program that it takes more than 30 seconds to complete an operation or to do something, okay, your program is going to crash, because after 30 seconds, the PHP interpreter is going to stop the script from running automatically because of this setting here. All right. You could, if you're running a PHP program and it's doing some heavy duty stuff, you might want to bump up this number and leave it up. Now, why is there a limit at all? Why isn't it just unlimited? Simply because if you have an infinite loop, or if by mistake or what have you, you don't want to use up so much of your server processor time. You're gonna want to cut it short in case of mistakes. That's basically one of the reasons. So this one is a notable. Okay, now next one here is error handling and logging. Okay, so error handling and logging. You want to notice the huge amount of text, I guess, explanation to this. Now, and the actual setting is right down here where it says error reporting equals. Okay, so right now error reporting is equal to all. So it's going to report all errors. Okay, which is what you want to do in a development server. You want to see all your errors, because errors will cause your program to stop running. All right. If you are actually using your website online, you don't want to display errors, because people are when people see the errors, it could give away some security information. All right. Now, notices are not errors. Notices are kind of programming mistakes or annoying things, but notices will not cause a program to stop running. So I personally recommend, to leave notices on. All right. In which case, right here, you notice that notices is off. When you see a little squiggly line and notice, it means that setting is off. So pay particular attention to these examples here, because these examples are really good examples of some of the stuff you might want to do. All right. Okay, now the next setting I want to talk about is, I want you to scroll way down, okay, until you see dynamic extensions. So we're going to leave all, okay, here it goes, dynamic extensions. Okay, now without getting to a ton of detail here, you notice that most of these extensions are off. The reason they're off or not set is because you see the semicolon, okay, to the very left of the setting. That means that it's not set. You notice a couple of them are on. Okay, now PHP MySQL is on, not by default. This is something that WinLab has done. Now we know PHP and MySQL are talking to each other, because a couple tutorials ago we wrote a PHP script with an SQL database command in it, and it worked. So we know this is fine. Okay, this is now if you were to turn this off, okay, as such, that program will no longer work. The one I want to tell you about is up here, extension PHP GD2. GD2 is the graphical library function of PHP, and there are many PHP programs that does use GD2. Now, if this setting is turned off, which it is off now, okay, those PHP programs with the graphical abilities are not going to work. So I'm going to turn it on by deleting the semicolon. All right. And once I delete the semicolon, this one is active. I'm simply going to go File, Save. Okay, I'm going to close off my PHP INI file. Okay, I don't really need this one as well. So let's get right back to my desktop. I don't know what that means. Okay, and I'm going to restart Apache. So when I restart Apache, it's going to see my new PHP settings, and that's it. I'm good to go. All right, so there you have it, a crash course on PHP configuration.